Hey, welcome back. Well, today is really exciting because we are going to work on the Firefly APIs together with Frame.io, right? What is even more exciting is that as of the recording today, Adobe has released the Firefly Model 3, the newer models for API version 3 of APIs. And so we'll be able to try new APIs like Object Composite, right? So what we are going to do today is that we're pretty much built on what we've learned from the previous exercise there. Um, we still have to call these APIs, but this time instead of just calling the APIs from Firefly, because we are going to work in conjunction with Frame.io, then we are going to get the tokens for both Firefly as well as Frame.io tokens there. Now, uh, a little bit different to last time when we upload an image, user have to manually upload an image. For today's exercise, we are going to integrate Frame.io in this workflow in such a way that it will be responding when someone click on an image, an asset in Frame.io environment. So when someone click on an access in Frame.io, we want to trigger an event and to send it to Firefly services there. So this is where webhook comes in, right? So instead of Firefly services doing polling, you'll be waiting for an event to happen. So when someone click on an item, right, and it trigger an event as a webhook to Firefly, Firefly will then process the event. In this case, it will use the to call this Frame.io API to find out what this item is and upload to the surface to the Firefly surfaces there, right? So we'll be using the uh, Firefly upload APIs and together with a new API called Firefly Object Composite, which effectively will blend in this object with the background, right? So Object Composite, I think, is a better API to use in this case. Last time we used Firefly Field simply because Object Composite wasn't available back then, right? But for use case where I want to blend this subject with the background, Object Composite really is the API to use. And the other benefit is that we could upload image with a transparent background as well, so we don't have to deal with a separate mask. So just upload this image will do, and it will blend in with the background, the various background that are from the Excel online, just like last time. And when it's done, it send the result back. But unlike last time where the result was sent back to OneDrive, this time we are going to use the Frame.io APIs again here. When I say again, I mean well, to use the Frame.io API to upload an image to the Frame.io for storage. Okay, all right. So this is the goal, right? So the workflow that we're talking about. I think this is very exciting because it demonstrates a few new things that we didn't cover last time. Webhook for one, and then upload and download through Frame.io as well, right? So let's just see how it works. So we will continue where we left off last time. So this, if indeed, this is really the workflow that we had last time, and we'll just reuse some of the steps so that we don't have to create from entirely beginning, right? So something that getting the frame, getting the Firefly token. Well, we retain this step because we still need that, right? Accessing the Excel table, right? So we use this action to do it, right? And we've done that, demonstrate how it was done. So this is fine, right? We'll retain that. Image upload, we just keep it there because we still need to upload image for Firefly processing, so we need to keep that. But we don't need the mask, so I'm going to delete the mask because we are going to upload a transparent image. And then the rest is about Last time it was a Colin Gen field or Firefly field, etc., and then upload to OneDrive, right? We are going to change this time. We are going to call Firefly Object Composite and upload to frame. So I think I'll just delete this whole lot, right? So we are not going to use this. So at least some of the steps is already here, so we don't have to start everything from scratch, right? Now let's start, right? So remember last time user have to manually select an image and a mask when someone trigger this flow, right? But now we don't need that. Now we instead of someone manually trigger a flow, you will be waiting for a response. So we are going to remove that as well. Delete this one. So when does this flow start is when an event happens. So in this case, we are going to go to add a trigger instead of an action, a trigger called HTTP request. So when an HTTP request is received, because of webhook, so it what it really means is when an event happen, it's going to call this trigger, right? So I'm going to add it, but this trigger is not just for any user. So anytime when someone click on this asset, right? We want to in Frame.io, we want to trigger it, right? Now it will generate a URL. This URL is where Frame.io can send the information to the Power Automate, right? This URL will be generated after save. So we are going to click save. It needs to be saved first, and then it now generates a URL. This is the URL that is going to Frame.io, is the webhook is going to send to whenever the designated event happen, right? So I'm just going to copy it. Now, for some reason, it just name it manual glitch is I really don't like, but let's not worry too much about that. But what it really is when an HTTP request is received. So there's this URL there, right? Now let's go to Frame.io, right? So first, right? So go to this frame environment. So in this case, I have the frame environments there, right? And Frame.io is an Adobe solution that is great for pure storing content and collaborate and whatnot, right? So in this case, I have a folder called Object Comp, and inside the folder, I've got three images there. These are all PNG with transparent background, so there's nothing there, right? Now, I wanted to respond when someone click on any of these objects there. So we could have it respond when someone share a review or maybe duplicate or download, etc. So we could capture any of these events there, or we could create what we call custom event that is with custom menu. So I've created some custom menu there. I'll show you how to do it as well, right? So let's just say I don't really care about when someone duplicate or move. I want when someone select one of these custom event. So I'm going to show how we could create a custom event, and then when someone select this custom event, click on this custom event, it's going to send the event to Power Automate, right? So first we need to go to the Frame.io developer console. So let's just go to the developer console here, right? So for if you've got a Frame.io account, then you could go to developer.frame.io or frame.io, right? Now, just so I want to point out that even though I am using Frame.io as the exercise there, I hope this exercise can give you insight about how do you use integrate with other system if not Frame.io, because the idea, the technique are pretty much the same, right? It might not be Frame.io, but pretty much every system works the same way. So this to use the Frame.io to programmatically respond, act on the Frame.io environment, you need to have developer access there. So you need to have something like to access the Frame.io environment. Of course, you might want to have something like a token, right? It's just like how you want to access um, Firefly, right? So it uses the same deal, right? Open auth, and what it means is that it's got the client ID, client secret for you, and then you could use the client ID, client secret to make the call to Power Automate, and then generate a token. So just like that, right? Now, we've already demonstrated how these open auth work, right? So the great thing about Frame.io is that for developer, let's just say when you just want to build some application to really test it out, you can save yourself a few steps because instead of having to go through open auth, right, we could also just go here and go to token. Once you signed in as a developer, you could just create a token as well. So instead of going through the open auth, send the client ID, client secret, you could just create a token right here, right? Now, I won't necessarily recommend this the approach to do it. It is in a way kind of like lazy approach to do it, but is for today's exercise, we just it's not for production environment, so I'm quite it could save us some time. So you could call this token anything, right? So BC demo if you want, right? So call this token anything and specify the scope, right? And I just select everything, right? So that it responds to asset create, asset deleted, asset anything. Respond to webhook, and because that's what we want, right? Respond to custom action, etc., etc. So I click submit. And what it does that is then will generate a token for you. This is the token that you need to copy and to be used in the in when we are actually working uh, with the APIs later on, right? Now, so copy this now. This is the last time you see it. Well, this is the way it is, right? So if you want to use it, copy it, because then if you refresh this page, you wouldn't see this token, and you have to create another token if you want to. So I may just copy it. Okay, copy it, and now I'm just going to go to this Power Automate, right? And let's just get the token, write down the token, right? So I'm going to store the token as a variable, and call this fly sorry, Frame.io token, right? Maybe FLO token, and that's string, and then I'll just paste it, right? So we've got the token there, which we could use later on, right? So keep it there because so that it's saved, so we could reference to it later on, right? But that's not it, right? We still have to remember that we've got this URL that is for callback, right? So let's go back to the Frame.io developer portal there, right? So we've got the token. The next thing we want is to have webhook, right? Or custom action, right? So if we take a look at webhook, so when you create a webhook, so in Frame.io, it allows you to create a webhook. You could create that response to whenever a project is created, whenever a project is deleted, whenever an asset is created, or whenever an asset is deleted, etc., etc., right? Well, I don't really want that, right? So if you want to have Power Automate respond to any of those, you can just create a webhook. Now, give this webhook a name, whatever name you want. Put in the URL. This URL is the URL that we copy from Power Automate, because this is where, when, let's just say, when a project is created, this is where the URL is sent back to Power Automate, right? Now, I'm not using this webhook there because none of these are what I want, right? So I'm going to go to custom action. Custom action is really like webhook, except that it's kind of like a custom event that you could respond to, right? And I'm going to create a custom action, and I'm just going to call this demo 3. Call it any name you like, right? So something that is more descriptive. Now, I'm just lazy, right? So because this tutorial is a demo 3, I call it demo 3. You don't. In general, people would write a better descriptive name for that, right? And then this proper description as well. Maybe, when asset is selected and type something that means something, right? And then you could even type in some custom event name as well. We just made it up. There's something is called my event, right? So these are doesn't really matter. What really matter is the URL. Is when this event happened, we are going to paste the URL. We are going to send to URL. We are going to send to Power Automate, but where Power Automate in the internet is where is it? Right? So we are going to copy that URL because this URL will point to our Power Automate workflow. Now the team, my team under my Frame.io account, my own team is called Brian, and etc. etc. You could, if they're a collaborator that you want your team member be able to use this, you can do so as well, right? So anyway, I'm going to click submit. Now I've created this custom action that will respond and send to this Power Automate URL, right, etc., etc., and etc. So that's it, right? Now, if I go back to Frame.io, right? Now, remember previously, I click any item. There's two custom event, right, or custom action, as we like to say, right? If I'm going to refresh this page, because I've created a new custom action. So I'm just going to refresh this page, and guess what? If I click the 3 dots now, there's this new events called demo 3, right? And indeed, if I just click that, select it and click it, you see that it's success. So it responds, right? And indeed, if I click OK, it's going to send this right to our Power Automate. Guess what? Let's test, right? So go to Power Automate, right? Now, because we've already have this flow there, let's just go to the I think I've saved. Oh, hang on, have I saved it? I think I have, right? I hope I have, right? So let's just save it. And did I save it? I hope I have. Anyway, let's just go and take a look, right? Oh, that's good, right? So I have saved it already, right? So you see that it says about half a second ago, so half a minute ago, something happened, right? So, and this is why it's telling me that the event did trigger the Power Automate workflow, right? And even though it triggered, it failed, but this is fine. I know why it failed, but at least it's sending something to Power Automate. If I take a look at that, you notice that it's good that it must be responding, and then it go to do this and this and this and this, right? And then at the end it failed. I know why it failed. Simply because that remember, we didn't upload an image. Because we didn't upload an image, this code HTTP upload, Firefly upload, of course failed because nothing was sent, right? So, but this is fine. We are going to deal with this later on. The main thing is that it is working, so this is fine, right? Now, what I really need to do is to rather look into the response, right? So, because when Power Automate received the event, right, from the web from that custom action, if I take a look at that, right, what I want to look at is the output. This is what has been sent by frame.io. Frame.io is sending the frame.io is sending the action ID, interaction ID, project ID, resource ID, everything, right? So actually, it's quite interesting because everything in frame.io is identified by a unique ID. Now, if I go back to frame.io, right, remember I click on this item. If I double click this item, right, so, frame.io recognize the item not by file name, but every item is have a custom unique ID. Indeed, if I look into the URL here, 0434 all the way, right? This is the ID referencing this asset there. What happened? It's referencing this asset there, right? So if I go to manage, right? If I take a look at the resource ID, this is the ID that was the item, right? 043 ABE. Okay, all right. So we now know that it actually get us the everything, including the asset ID, which is in the JSON is a property of, for some reason it's called resource, not asset, right? But that's fine. We know it, right? And now I'm just going to copy it, because remember that giving me a JSON file is good. I could read it, but the computer wants it to be easily accessible. So what we are going to do is that we are going to add we'll pass this JSON file, right? So I'm going to the edit environment and pass this JSON. Let's just call this pass the frame.io asset. As I said before, always give a descriptive name, and this will get the content from menu body. Now the schema, remember that it's always hard to create schema manually, but because I've copied the output, right? So I simply go to the schema, use sample payload to generate the schema, just like that, right? So it will read all these and generate the schema for us. So that has action ID, interaction ID, so everything I'm going to use, right? Now, just so that you know, so far we don't actually need to use the frame IO token yet, because we are just responding, right? So it doesn't need to. But next, we are going to need to rely on the token, because giving me the ID is no good. I really need to know the URL where I can get the item, right? So when someone click it, I want to get this image URL, not the ID. The ID is no good for me. I need to be able to access the URL where I could access this asset, right? So the way to do it is that the given the ID, it gives us, we could ask the frame.io to find out the URL of the image. Now, if you want to check how to do it, go back to the frame.io developer site, go to the documents, API references or reference. So this is the frame.io reference. At the moment is version 2, right? And if I go to, so there are all these APIs available. We are going to call this get an asset API. This frame.io get an asset API will read the asset ID, which is the resource ID, and in response, it will return everything that we need to know more than just frame.io just give you everything about this asset. So if I take a look, there are lots of content that comes. You just I just want an a URL, but well, this is what it does, right? So frame.io will return everything about this asset, right? So what I need to do is going to call this, use the get HTTP. I'm going to copy this URL. So oh, by the way, before I show you, right, might as well take a look at the what do we need. It needs to be HTTP get. The security, we only need the authorization. We don't need the client ID. We just need authorization, and that it is that's it. So and that is the content type is application JSON. Right. Okay. All right. So make sure that we copy this one. Now the URL is that we need to put in call this URL with the asset ID as a parameter. So go back to here. And so let's just once we've got the token, we are underneath here. We're going to make a call HTTP API version 2 asset. Right now, the asset ID is we replace this bracket and we get it from this step because we pass it, right? So pass this, and then we've got the once we pass, we actually see a lot of things, right? Body action, interaction ID, body ID, body ID. Well, the problem I would say with frame.io is that the JSON return have a lot of those names that are the same. So the ID, I don't know which one is the resource ID, right? So unfortunately, because it doesn't really specify here, so trial and error. So if I select the first one, right, and move the mouse over, and it tells you that what it read is actually the project ID. So if you move over, you see that is passing the project ID. So no, that's not what I need. So delete it. So try again. Maybe the second one. Let's just try the second one. Move the mouse over, take a look. Oh, this is it. So it is returning the resource ID. So remember, resource ID is the asset ID, right? So for some reason, the documentation, the calling is, the naming convention is just mixed up a little bit, right? So, but at least we know, right? So now the method is get. So, and then the header is content type, application JSON, right? And then authorization, bearer, and which is using the let's just put a step, right? Oh well, no wonder we are not saying the variable because is the variable is defined in this step. So why don't I drag and drop, right? Move it underneath here, right? Okay, all right. So now I should be able to see the dynamic value is file IO file IO token. Now let's give it a better name. So let's just call this, what should I call it? I'm going to call this frame.io get asset. always give a proper name so that it's easy to see, right? So I think that's about it. We should then return everything about this asset, right? So because we got the resource ID, so why don't I save it and test it again, right? So we're just going to test it again, demo 3 and success, right? So go back to the Power Automate flow. Well, what did I do? So hopefully it's good, and then we go back to yeah, right. That's good, right? So is run 19 seconds ago. Again, fail, doesn't matter, we know why, but we just keep on going, right? We'll fix the image upload later on, right? And now let's just see, right, what does it return, right? So the HTTP FIO get asset, return it, and this is going to return the body, right? Now, something yeah, unfortunately is that it returned heaps of stuff. Heaps of stuff, right? This is the way how frame.io those API work, right? It returns so many things, right? But what we really want is the original, the URL. So it actually returned the URL in the original. It will tells you that this HTTP, this is actually the URL that would grab the actual content, right? And this, if you like, you can actually test it out, right? So if you copy the URL, maybe just within the browser, you see that it's actually downloading that image. Cream 1, right? 10, the reason why 10 is because I've already got previous 9 version in my hard drive download folder because I test all the time, right? So, this is the URL that we want, right? So, back to here, right? So we know that the ID does return the URL of the image, right? So what I want to do is to copy it and go back to edit, because I'm going to pass this JSON file. So again, go to pass, and let's just pass FIO get set JSON, and that it comes from the body of this FIO get asset, and the payload is the one that we've copied. You see, 500 lines, right? So all I want is really just the URL. Anyway, that would do. Now that we've got the URL, now here's the thing. We know the item that has been clicked, selected by the user. We know through this get asset call, we find out the URL where this asset can be located or downloaded, right? How do we upload into Firefly upload API, right? Now we need to make an HTTP to get this content, right? So here is it. We are going to use an HTTP to get the content. Now the content is at that URL. So fortunately, we know where that is, right? Is in that original parameter. So we go to, let's just call it get asset. So call it get asset, right? So we go and grab it from the previous step, pass frame.io get asset JSON, right? Now that here is it, right? So there are just tons, 445 parameters. So find out where that is. I think it's this one. I think it's this one. But if you couldn't find the one, you could go and search for original, and hopefully you'll return and you'll see it, right? But it's just a lot, right? So anyway, this hopefully is the URL. Hopefully is the URL, right? So and the method is get. So that's it. Right now, this HTTP GET doesn't need any parameters there because it's just a standard HTTP call. I know the URL. This URL is a public URL that it generates. Is that URL generate is this actually, to be honest, there is when this method is called, it returns that URL. This URL have an expiry time as well. So but this is fine. There's plenty of time for us to respond to. So I'm going to just call this HTTP GET and get asset. Right. Once we get it, then what do we do it? So it HTTP get the assets, right? But how do we then pass it to the HTTP upload, right? Remember we've got the Firefly upload. So now the Firefly upload, as far as upload is concerned, if we go back to the Firefly developer documentations there, uploads is the same, so nothing's changed. So it's still version 2. This is why I don't need to change anything. I could use it as it is, right? What it I explained last time is that it needs to be a binary file, a string binary file, and in return you give us an ID that we could then use it for later on Firefly API calls, right? So this one hasn't changed, right? So now let's go. Right? The URL is the same, post the same, API, right? The same, right? Except that remember last time we said that to turn into a binary, we need it to be use the base64 to binary, right? And then we get the content, right? Now the content obviously we need to change now because we don't get it from the manual upload. Instead, we get it from that HTTP get access, right? So I'm going to replace this. It's still base64 to binary, but we are going to get it from the HTTP get asset, right? So because we make this HTTP call the URL, and we get the body, right? The only thing is that we can't just grab the body. We need this body. That file, the PNG file that we get, we need to get the string value. Now this for some reason is something that I wish there's an easier way to explain the syntax, right? But unfortunately, this is something that you need to remember is that when you get the body, it is the binary file. So no, we want to put a question mark and put a square bracket and then put a single quote. Where's the quote? Right, and then put in dollar content. So this will go to the body of that HTTP GET, right, and find the content file. The content is a series of text string, and once we've got the text string, then we will be able to convert this text string to a binary file. So it's something just to remember, right? So unfortunately, this is the only time where I actually need to manually type something, right? So, but this is what it is. I'm going to save it. Now, if everything works well if I didn't make any mistakes there, this time when I test this, it should return a success status instead of failure, right? But let's just see. You never know. Sometimes I might stuff up some step along the way, but let's hope everything's okay. So I select this image again. I go to demo 3, success. So is send the response to frame to Power Automate. Go to the Power Automate flow, click the arrow back so that we could look at the status. Oh, yeah, here it is, right? So this wonderful. So is 15 seconds ago, it succeed, right? So if I just take a look, right? So yeah, everything good, right? As we said, you want to see the green tag, right? So is now reading this one is passing. Indeed, if I click the output, right, pass image JSON, it should return the ID. So we've now got the ID from this Firefly upload. Firefly upload. And so that's good. That's good. I think last time I also create a variable and being 0 to start with, right? So okay, all right, cool. That is good, wonderful. So far so good, right? So what we've done so far is that we've used the webhook or custom action to respond it. Once it's respond, we find out which asset has been selected, and then we use the get asset API to find out the URL of that asset. With that URL, we use the HTTP get asset to grab the content, and then and then we use the HTTP upload. When we upload, we just upload that content um, using the HTTP grab and specify the content and turn it into binary string and return the ID, etc., etc. Right now, everything is in place. So what do we need now is that we are going to with the ID that we've uploaded to Firefly. That means that we could use this image for object composite, right? So what is object composite? So this is a new Firefly API there. What it does is that it lets you blend an image with a background. The background can be anything that you generate, right? So there is this URL that you use, and then what it required, right? So in terms of security, same sort of deal, pretty much like last time, right? But in terms of request, so it would let you pass all these parameters there. The main thing that you need is the image that you are going to send, right? So this image can be a URL or can be an ID. We've got the ID now, so we could use it, right? The source is the ID, right? Now, we don't mask is optional, so you could either have the mask or not have a mask. We don't need to have a mask because we are uploading a PNG with transparent background, so we could skip that one, right? And what else is it, right? So there are version 3 give you lots of other controls as well, like placement, style, etc., etc. So these are optional, right? Oh, the other thing that is mandatory, of course, is the prompt, the background, so the text prompt there, right? So we are going to copy this and use it, right? So what I'm going to do is to call an HTTP and going to paste this. All right, so version 3 object composite method is post. So the content type, we know what to type in, right? So is application JSON. So we've done it many different times now, right? So API key is the Firefly client ID, and then the what's that? The authorization bearer. And the Firefly token is yeah. Now this is what we did last time with the header, right? Now so that you know, for some reason with version 3 when you see version 3, right? So I don't know whether it's because version 3 is still in preview and not final, right? I don't know exactly why, right? But to get this to work, the content header, you need to add one more thing, is accept, and put in a value asterisk slash asterisk, right? Now, I'm not 100% sure whether this is temporarily because it's preview, right? Or it's going to stay, right? At the moment, if you don't put in accept with this value, then you return an error, right? So I think when version 3 is officially released, you could try it out without this and see whether that still would give you an error or not, right? But for now, if you don't put in accept asterisk, then it will return an error. So it's something to bear in mind, right? Oh, I forgot to name it. Let's just call it Firefly Object Composite, right? And then the body, right? So go back to here, right? So I'm going to just we don't need everything, but I'm just going to copy the this payload, right? So, and I'm going to paste it here. Many of these are optional, right? So I like to keep it simple, so I don't need the number of variation remain. But it used to be called n in version 1 or version 2, right? It's now called num variation, meaning how many images per text prompt, right? Now I'm just going to keep it simple, 1, which is the default. So I'm going to delete this one. Right. Size, I just keep it there, 2K by 2K, right? Now image, we are going to rely on the user ID but not URL. So I may just delete this bit. We don't need the mask, so I'm going to delete this bit as well. So now prompt we need, right? The placement is where you want the when we have the PNG file that we superimpose the hand cream bottle there, you could even specify left, right, top, bottom where that is, right? Now for this exercise, I'm going to remove everything here by that I'm not using, simply just to keep it simple there, right? So and let's just remove everything, right? Which we don't need. As I said before, version 3 give you a lot of controls. So I'm just going to remove this one. Maybe just leave that it is output as photo, the content string, right? So this is the kind of like the core minimum that I need, right? So the prompt, I want to get this prompt from the Excel table, right? So when I go to prompt the Excel, so if you remember the Excel table, hang on. So just click the cursor and then click this lightning bolt, right? So we get it from the Excel table. Remember the Excel table has only one. Remember the Excel table has only one column, right? And this is the one that we want. And so it automatically create a loop because this Excel table column 1 has multiple rows, so you just repeat for as many times as required, right? And then the user ID, so we will get it from that was it that that upload. Remember the upload will return the image upload will return the ID. So that's about it, right? So it should, if everything works well, then it should run and generate 5 images per every time when someone select an item, right? So I'm going to save it, right? Make sure I save it. So let's just save it as often as every time make something, save it, test it, right? So go and test it again, right? This time I'm going to test it, and let's just go to demo 3. Successful, and go to Power Automate, and then click the arrow button, and that would tells me that it's running. And then if I click the status, it actually will show me the spinning as well. So uh, because up to the previous step here is pretty quick, you just get the image there, but these last step, generating an image, will take a little bit longer time, because it's going um, to generate 5 images one by one, and every time the text based on a text prompt is going to take some time, right? So time to get a cup of tea, right? Now it's done, right? So here we have 1 of 5. Now, again, the reason why it's 1 of 5 is because that there are 5 rows in this table. Just to remind everyone, remember last time we said that this is an Excel table. This Excel table could be in your OneDrive, could be anywhere, right? But it's Excel online. So here I have these 5 missy a mossy rock in a lush forest or magical forest, and meadow with summer wildflower, right? So I've got 5 items there. So what it's doing is that it's looping 5 items one by one, and that if I take a look at this one, right? So the first item, let's just see, right? So the first item you could see, hang on, what's the first item? Right. This is the first item, and that I'm just trying to read the input. Here it is. I think inputs should be here. Here it is, right? So the first item, mossy rock in a lush forest with the stream like this, right? And that is going to return 200 status code, which is great, right? And that the output, it generate a URL. Again, you might want to just let me just go and scroll and copy this URL. Sometimes this is where you could actually make sure that it is working as it should, right? So I'm going to copy this URL from the output. So this will from output, and then maybe just paste the URL, just so that we could see that is creating, right? So as you can see, it's now blending this image with the background, right? So this background is a mossy rock or something, right? So, well, it's working okay, good, right? So, and then if I go to second image, then it will be another, you could check every single image one by one. So now we know that it's using the object com to combine the image that was uploaded with the transparent background, and blend it and generate a JPEG image, right? So what I want to do now is to grab the output of these grab the URL. We've got the URL, and I need to send it to frame.io, right? I want to store it in frame.io, right? So the first thing you want to do, never forget, is to copy the output, because what you need is to, you don't need any of those. You just need the URL. So this image URL, right? And you need to pass the JSON to do this. So I'm going back to the edit mode, and add a path JSON, and let's just call this pass ff object com. The content is from the object com, right? The schema is we pass the payload as a way to generate the schema. The schema will return the URL, right? So there is a URL here. Now just so that you know, right? It generate the URL, and yeah, that's good. I think that's all good, right? So I'm going to now output or grab based on the URL, because from this pass we could read the URL. We are going to send it back to frame. Now how do we send it back to frame? I need to go back to this frame IO API guide, right? Now the upload an image asset back to frame IO took me a while to work it out which one to call, right? But turned out that it is create an asset. Create an asset is the HTTP call that allow you to upload the content back into a frame, right? It's called create asset. So this is the URL for the post. So you need to post, right? So post it to asset and asset ID children. Now, exactly what is this asset ID? Literally, what this asset ID refers to is where in frame IO you want to output, right? So because otherwise you need to tell exactly where in frame IO you want to output, right? Now, so that you know everything. Remember, I was saying that every asset have an ID, and even a folder has an ID as well. So in this case, I want to upload everything, upload to this folder, out folder, right? So if I double click on the out folder, you notice that I've got the URL, and this is the let me just move it a bit away here, because it's just my my recording is kind of like preventing me from maybe here, right? So anyway, I'll grab it, right? So this is the ID of the folder. So this is the ID of the folder. So when you double click, the last text string represent the ID of the asset. In this case, the asset is a folder, not a file, but is a folder. Right? So what that means is that we could actually call the URL and put the folder in here, right? And so that whenever we are going to upload the file from the Firefly, it's going to upload into this folder, and it's going to be a post. So let's just copy it and just go and put it there, right? So I'm going to add an HTTP I'm going to call it frame.io create asset, so that it's easy for me to reference, right? So that put in post, and I'm going to replace the asset ID right. I'm going to replace this with the ID of the folder. So again, let's go back, right? So what's the ID of the folder? So this is the ID of the folder. Control C, Control V. Right? So this is the ID of the folder, out folder there, right? And then what else do we need, right? So let's just see, right? So it is security, same deal. You just put in something like authorization, content type, right? So let's just go to content type. Application JSON authorization parent we call the frame IO token, just like that. Now, in terms of body, we you could just use this basic asset, right? So copy this one. Now this create asset API call have other usage as well, real-time asset or real-time name unknown. We don't need that. We just use the basic. We just keep it simple, right? So we just copy it. Now for some reason, while it copy, right, it just missed one thing. If I take a look at the parameters there, there's one thing that is the source. Is where does it comes from? Remember that we've got the URL, right, from Firefly, right? So we need to put in the source as well. The source is an object with URL as a parameter. Now, for some reason, I don't know why, it is not list here, right? So this is something that we need to manually add in. So I'm just going to copy, and then I'm going to put in Power Automate, right? So let me explain what are each of these, right? Type, file, easy to understand. File type, well, we are going to upload, which is a JPEG image. So I'm going to replace it with JPEG. Auto version, I have no idea what that is. Don't need that. File size, this is the limit, file size limit. When do you place a limit to how big the file that you allow for upload to Frame.io? So I think just put in 2 megabyte, right? So 60, so 2 megabyte, and that's all I need, right? Now the file name, which we are going to look into file naming later on, right? But let's just deal with name is the file name, which we'll deal with it later on. But we're just going to add the source as well, because you might need to say where is the file, right? So the source. Remember that this is what was missing in the copy for some reason, right? So we are going to manually put it. It needs to be source. It needs to be an object. So needs to have a parameter URL, and this URL will have a string, exactly where that is, right? So we are going to grab it from this parse object that should grab us the URL. So this parse ff object is a URL, so we grab it. Right. Now it only give one URL, although it is kind of like as an array. So, but this is fine, and this is why it kind of like do a little loop for us. But this is okay. It's good, right? Now, lastly, I just want to talk about the name, right? When Firefly upload the image to Frame.io, it's going to, at the moment, it's going to call this image my movie. Obviously, we don't want that, right? So you want to call it anything you like, and may want it to be different as well, right? Now I'm thinking about what's the naming convention. I don't really have much thought about that, right? But I might just say I just going to call the first image to be, because I've I still have this variable n, which is 0, and the whole idea is that I want to count n is 1, n is 2, n is 3 every time when it loops through that. So I could just call it 1.jpg, 2.jpg, 3.jpg. I think that would do, right? So why don't I just change the variable every time it go to the loop? I'm going to update the variable, and variable, where's my variable? Variable, yeah, here it is, right? So let's just see, right? So something like increment would do, right? So I want to change the variable increase by a value of 1, so that kind of like is going to let's just call this increment n, right? Always give a name it properly, right? So now we know n will have a different name different value, right? So what does that mean? That means that instead of hard code it to be my movie, I could have it called um, JPG. So it would be called 1.jpg, 2.jpg, 3.jpg, etc., etc. Right? Terrible naming, I know, but at least at least it's quite different, right? Every time it run the loop. So I think I may save it. And again, if everything works well, if I didn't make any mistake, we should now, not only does it generate 5 images, which we've shown to be the case, right? We should be able to upload the image to the Frame.io as well. So let's just give it a test, right? So go back to Frame.io, and now remember output at the moment this folder is empty. So I'm just going to grab the image and go for 3, right? And so success, right? So it's now going to pass this, trigger the event, and now it's going to run for a minute or two. It will generate 5 images there. Now, while it's running the first one, I could go on and select the second one, right? Second image. And new files added, right? So I'll do the same thing as well, just wrap in sequence, right? So maybe this image as well, right? Right. Okay. All right. Now, if I go to the Power Automate, just go back, right? So it should now show me that there are 3 processes running because I select each of the image one by one, right? And if I take a look at any of the process, so it will run so green tick, green tick, green tick, that's good, green tick. And then this one, as we saw last time, is going to take a little bit longer. So hopefully, let's just see that it will give us green tick all the way. Then we'll then see whether the image should be uploaded to the Frame.io. We are calling multiple flow together, so might even take a little bit longer, but hopefully it still should be I would say 2 minutes. I would say about should be all it takes to finish this process. Time for tea. Good. So yeah, 2 minutes 34 seconds, right? So and yes, at least we've got the green tick, right? Might as well take a quick look at the other process as well. So they run in parallel pretty much, right? So the second process is done, the third one is also done, so all succeed as well. Now, if I go to interesting that they will run in parallel, pretty much, right? So and if I go back to the Frame.io, check out the out folder. And so take a look at the out folders now, right? So there are 15 items, as I would expect, right? Because 3 hand cream each have 5 variation, right? So the first hand cream, second hand cream, third hand cream, right? And then the different sort of background. Now, one thing that you might notice is that this is quite unique with Frame.io. Frame.io, you see that our naming was 1.jpg, But then for the second process, it's still one.jpg. The third process is still one.jpg. Now, this is quite unique with Frame.io. Frame.io can have assets that have the same file names, right? Because as far as Frame.io is concerned, every asset is uniquely identified, not by the file name, but every asset has a unique ID. So if I double click, select the first one, look at the unique ID, and the second image, even the same file name has a unique ID as well. So anyway, with all that said, right? So what you've seen now is that how we are able to uh, grab respond to Frame.io. Remember, the whole process was that we started with responding when someone click an item using the custom action. So whenever someone click one of these custom action, what it does is that it take this image and send it to grab this image, send to the send it to the Firefly upload, and then use that and run later on with the object composite and get the images there, loop through it, and then send it back to the out folder, right? So I think this is kind of like finish our workflow, right? So here it is, right? The Frame.io, we are using it to upload and download images with the Firefly, right? So hopefully you now work out how to do use the two systems together. As I said before, the purpose of this exercise, while it's great to show you the integration between Frame.io and Firefly, right? But the concept, the technique pretty much applies to other systems that you want to integrate with Firefly as well. As long as that system got the REST API, then you'll be and webhook, then you do it pretty much like the way we show you here. Right, the API's core might be different, but the methodology, the ideas remains the same. So I hope you learned something of interest today, right? So now that we've got the version 3 Firefly APIs available, we are going to do one more exercise next time. So the next time, what we are going to show you is that expand this further, because Firefly have apart from Firefly APIs, we have got the Photoshop APIs, Lightroom APIs as well. Now, how about if this object is not transparent, maybe have a background, right? So next time in our exercise, we are going to show you how we could incorporate Photoshop API to remove the background before we do the object composites, right? So there's a few new things that we need to tackle with, but we'll leave it for next time. So for now, bye. Thank you, and have a great day.